Hi, I'm Shauna J. Cerniak, founder of Every Woman Empowered, and alongside are my co-hosts,
Johnny Gallardo, international artist, and Every Woman Empowered's resident artist.
And Neela Janu, certified laughter yoga instructor, founder of Let's Laugh Yig, and happiness ambassador for Every Woman Empowered.
Welcome to
Chit Chat!
Very excited to have on Chit Chat for the month of October, the spookiest month of them all, the one, the only, Chris McAuley and Dacre Stoker. Welcome, gentlemen!
Yay!
Who better than to have you two gentlemen on the show, especially for the month of October, for Halloween? Welcome! Now, I want to hear what's been going on in your neck of the woods, gentlemen.
You want to start by telling us how this project began, Chris?
Sure, yeah. I think it was last year. I had been asked to write a comic book story for a horror anthology. And I decided to write a story about Dracula set in the future. So I contacted Dacre and just let him see the scripts. I've always been very concerned about the portrayal of Dracula and Bram's characters. So I just wanted to make sure that Dacre and his family were happy with how we had sort of portrayed the character. And he sent me this lovely email back saying he liked the story and he wanted to give me a call. So we started to chat about the possibility of graphic novels based on Bram Stoker's short stories that then escalated into, well, for doing that, why don't we start doing stories around the Dracula universe? And then that very quickly escalated into well, let's create a unified horror universe, which we had called StokerVerse. And here we are.
Wow. All that in 1 year.
I think that was in about 4 months.
It was a whirlwind.
No kidding.
You know, Neela, Chris doesn't sleep. So when you say all that in 4 months, that's like 8 months because he doesn't sleep. He is the resident vampire.
Double
here.
the time. Yeah.
Exactly. And all I can say is when I got the phone call, it was like, yeah, I get quite a few of these inquiries, but I could tell right off the bat, this guy was very genuine. He had a real sensitivity towards my great-granduncle Bram Stoker and wanting to protect the legacy as well as us to help it grow and flourish. So it was really nice and refreshing to have somebody that wanted to come and give back, not just something to take something. And that's when I decided, this is a very creative guy. He's got his hands in a number of things from art to graphics to games, things that I'm not able to go into on my own. So he was a great asset, and it's been a great StokerVerse project so far.
That's an amazing relationship. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting stuff all the way around. So, I mean, I want to know, what is StokerVerse and what makes it unique? Chris?
Okay, well, yeah, StokerVerse, it's this unified horror universe based on Bram Stoker's writings. Dacre and I have also created some original characters in there as well. So it's set around various genres. So we have classic Dracula, we've got steampunk, we've got sci-fi, and we have cyberpunk. One of the most exciting aspects about the StokerVerse is actually that it's transmedia. So it's not just novels. It's novels, comic books, audio dramas, video games, board games, RPG games. And then, of course, we're now segueing into the art universe with your work, Johnny. And we've started going into music with a chap called Bram Stoker, who's front man of a few famous goth bands in Europe.
Yes.
So it's very exciting. And I think one of the important elements is the fact that we've been so well received. You know, this idea has been very well received by fans of Dracula and horror fans in general. And Dacre and I have been teamed up with some really interesting people, stars of Doctor Who, stars of Babylon 5, Hollywood actors, some famed horror writers as well. So everybody's just jumped on board and been very excited by it.
Okay.
And I think one of the cool things also to mention, as Chris and I had set our sights on when we came together in this project, the 125th anniversary of Dracula is next year.
Wow.
And this is really the first time that a family member has really jumped in, with all in. We've, my cousins, Bram's got 2 great grandsons still alive who did interviews every now and then, but nobody who's actually written books and got involved to the degree that Chris and I have. But what we're actually doing is shifting back in time to focus on the original Dracula that Bram Stoker created in 1897. I have no problem with the way he's flourished in 124 years. The Christopher Lees, Bela Lugosi's, Gary Oldman's, Jack Palance, all these different actors and actresses, and True Blood and Twilight. It's all been inspired by Bram, but we're taking it back to the basics. And even though we are going into steampunk world and these other more futuristic worlds, we're going with the Dracula, the persona and the appearance of Bram's Dracula and the characters he created, and that sort of that vibe of the story, that the monster is back and he's not a nice guy.
Wow. And you think about it, I can only imagine what Bram must be thinking. Here we are 125 years later, and how much it has evolved and carried on for that long. Like, that is so incredible. And to be a part of that, what an honor for you both, for sure. And for Jenny as well, for now doing the arts. So congratulations to you all 3.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's really cool to have a modern day artist looking back and getting inspired by something 24 years ago and coming up with some really cool artwork. So this is it shows that his theme, his style, his inspiration is still going strong today, and it's coming out in many different mediums, and Johnny's is just one of them.
Yes.
I'm pretty excited.
I think that's what any artist aspires to, is to have their work live on in that way. So Dacre, can you tell us what about Bram Stoker's work helps it live on?
Well, it's Halloween. It's you 3 dressed up, for Halloween. I mean, I joke. There's obviously Santa Claus has his Christmas and Dracula has his Halloween. But really, when you think about it, it goes on for forever. And I'll tell you, and I think we could talk for hours on it, but basically one thing is very simple. Everybody on this earth thinks of what's going to happen to them after they die. And religion offers hope. It offers a way to give people some answers, but so does superstition and myth. And the myth and superstition of immortality of the vampire is a rather, let's say, somewhat attractive option. So that is in Bram's writing. He recognized it in his notes that the myth of vampire was all over the world when he did his research, and it's still out there today. It just resonates to some degree with everybody on Earth.
Wow. And so what kind of ventures do you gentlemen have that are coming up here in the next few months to year?
Chris, why don't you start off with that?
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about the products we have out at the minute. So we've got a graphic novel that was illustrated by the wonderful Jessica Martin, called The Virgin's Embrace, and it's an update of one of Bram Stoker's short stories. I will apologise for the title. It was originally called The Squaw, and we have updated it appropriately, so it doesn't lose any of its original impact, but is a little bit more sensitive. And actually, we were commended by the Canadian Minister for I think it was Indigenous Heritage on how we tackled a difficult issue. We have our all-star audio drama, Voices of Dracula, which was a lot of fun. In it, we've got a few prequel stories to Bram's original novel, and we focus very tightly on aspects of the characters, so how they felt, what they saw during the novel. We've got a lot of stars of Doctor Who. So Colin Baker, who was the 6th Doctor, he's Van Helsing. We've got Simon Templeman, who's people who've, if you've watched Buffy or Angel, you'll know Simon, or Charmed. Simon was in Charmed as well. Big Hollywood actor who was our Dracula for that. Terry Malloy, who was Davros, the Daleks creator. So he's Renfield. And then moving on, we've got a novel coming out with John Peel, who's a Doctor Who writer, called Dracula's Bedlam, and we're looking at the side story with Dracula linked to the asylum. We've got a few stories coming out in various anthologies, and we've got a few games as well that I can talk about. So we've got two RPGs coming out by Nightfall Games. Nightfall Games have just finished working on the Terminator license.
Yeah.
So they immediately jumped onto the StokerVerse. We've got a miniature war game coming out with Crooked Dice Studios connected to Edge Hill University. So that's going to be pretty big. I was just told, breaking news, I was just told today that Edge Hill University is proclaiming 2022 as the year of Dracula for them. So they've got a whole curriculum based on Dracula. And I have a little sample. This is a little sample from the Wargaming Company. So what they do is they have a brand called 7TV, and it's almost as if this is a VHS tape. It's almost as if somebody's gone to the archives and found these old tapes, and inside the VHS tape is actually parts of the game.
Wow.
So it's great working with all these companies that are really ingenious in how they package product and what they bring. And then we also have Johnny's artwork. So I want to spend a wee bit of time talking about Johnny's artwork here. If you go to the StokerVerse website, you will see images of Johnny's first painting, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. Dacre and I guided Johnny on the look and the feel. It's a beautiful piece of work. I think it's unique as well. I mean, it's hard to say that because Dracula has been portrayed in art throughout 124 years in different medium, but this is genuinely unique, and it keeps the look and the feel. What are your thoughts on it, Dacre?
Yeah, it was so cool when you came to me and said, we've got this artist, and I go, oh, geez, just another, kind of dark, misty thing. But when we started showing me her work, and you said, look, she needs some guidance. What do you want to give her? I said, well, I think the castle is always so iconic, but also, the carriage. Oh, but can she draw horses? And it's so complex when you really think of how is someone going to depict something that has been in your mind, at least mine, not for 124 years, but for about the last 20 years.
I was going to say, you look good for your age.
You're the vampire.
Oh, but she nailed it, and I love the color scheme. Plus, you got these little, what I call Easter eggs that we put in stories. She's got some little Easter egg things in windows. So there's stories behind the stories in the artwork, as well as in the stories in the games that Chris and I do. So I'm really excited to see this hit the market and see how well it goes, because I think it's going to be very, very well received.
Well, I got to tell you, gentlemen, you have nothing planned for the next little while. I mean, your schedules are just wide open, like online. Holy catfish. The amount of stuff that you have going on is incredible and so diverse in so many ways. What an exciting venture. And what a dynamic duo the two of you are doing, I got to say. So, now, if some fans wanted to get a hold of you, or they wanted to buy some of the books, art, all the things that you have going on, where is the best bet for them to find you on social media?
Well, I'll start. We sell a lot of the books on the BramStokerEstate.com website. So that's some of my books pre-StokerVerse, but they've all been bundled into StokerVerse. Any of the books that do come out, we put them on there. Of course, they are available on Amazon, both in Canada, the US, and in England. Book Depository has some of them as well. We don't have our own little shop yet. That is one thing that, with everything else we're doing, we're trying to catch up and have a StokerVerse shop on our website, but we will get there soon. But obviously you can contact Johnny for her artwork, and keep an eye on bramstokerstate.com. Chris, we also have our Facebook page, Stoker McAuley Facebook page. Lots of notices of what's going on there, and when new publications come out, where can people get them?
Yeah, we've got a little shop on our Facebook page that ties us. You can get the tie, like the lovely tie that Dacre's wearing right now that he's modeling. We have that. So we've got various other StokerVerse bits and pieces. So, you know, if you want to find out where our how to buy our graphic novel, Virgins Embraced, it's on there. Voices of Dracula as well, it's on there. And how could we forget, Dacre? The Bram Stoker bobblehead.
Bram himself.
So a little Bram Stoker bobblehead.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so he always watches over us as we write. You know, with that being said, that's a bit of a segue. Would you like to hear a little story from the StokerVerse?
Sure.
Yes.
So I'm just going to pop this up. So this should give everybody a little flavour of what the StokerVerse is about. So we don't just do Dracula. We incorporate quite a lot of other elements of horror. So I've called this story "The Terror Under the Rue Morgue." The hateful and delighted high-pitched squeals followed me in the darkness. I had sought my escape under the Parisian catacombs. Instead, I had discovered an ancient secret. Under the streets filled with artisans and the air which was thickly scented with coffee and cognac, thousands of red eyes lurked and waited for the opportunity to feast upon human flesh. I moved blindly through the unending maze, my hand slapping the wall to my left. My legs began to tire, and I forced myself to recall how my pursuers tore my companion to shreds. Then they tore at the flesh around his legs, their sharp teeth gnawing through his garments. The scent and the sight of his lifeblood seemed to drive them into a greater frenzy. I stood horrified, too shocked to be able to help. The share of the gold from our latest and most daring robbery tumbled from his pockets into the filthy waters below. The screams intensified as the rat severed the delicate tendons in his feet. Forced to his knees, he attempted to steady himself with his hands. That was a mistake. In that moment, the rat seemed to multiply and swarm over his wrists, the weight of the mass of their sleek black bodies pulling him downwards. I was finally able to tear myself away from the threshing mess that had been Pierre, as I saw a rat burst through his head like it was a piece of rotten fruit. The sheer force of the beast's entry through his skull dislodged his eyeball, and it hung by its optic nerves. This forced recall and the pain of a similar impending fate hanging over me convinced my legs to work faster. I ignored the pain blossoming in my chest. The burning sensation, which signaled exhaustion, was also the harbinger of my doom. The space between the walls grew smaller, and the scant light from my makeshift torch reflected against the wetness of the walls. I dimly understood that I was being herded to some unknown location. Far from being mindless beasts, these creatures were planning my destruction, as if it suited some purpose. The walls narrowed, and I felt that I had reached some focal point. At that moment I turned. The rats who had been pursuing me stood a few meters away. They had completely blocked the path back and watched expectantly with their glowing and demonic eyes. In the quietness of the tunnel, the noise of something shuffling towards me was magnified. Turning my head, I saw a misshapen thing take halting steps towards me. Its body seemed to be comprised of several rats melded together. It had 3 heads, which were as malformed as his body. One was skull-like in its features, another seemed to be a dead weight and hung like a tumour, bobbing along with the thing's steps. Its primary head was its most striking and had a definition of features that almost resembled a man. My sanity finally left me, and I gibbered uncontrollably, entreating my long-dead parents to save me, for the saints and for the good Christ to intervene, or for this hulking and shambling monster to just go away. Still it lumbered forward, chittering and sighing as if its body was inflated with air from a bellow pump. I write this as my last testimony, a vain comfort, for no one shall venture here. Most of my body has been consumed by these creatures, to whom I have been a prisoner for a length of time which feels like weeks. They have been careful and selective about which parts to consume, starting with my feet, crawling over my face, and tearing off the sweetmeats of my nose and ears. I have been left an eye and a hand with which to inscribe these words onto this wall using my fingernails. There are rumors of gods above, but as I write this in evidence of the reality of the terrible hungers of the god below, it resides under Paris and holds court over those whose folly causes them to stray onto the pavements in search of the hidden things. They approach, and I know of certainty that this is the Last Supper. Goodbye, Morris and Jeanette. So that's a little piece of the StokerVerse.
So descriptive.
So that's what Dacre and I try and do with our work. We've got our Dracula, but we also have stories around Dracula, and it's sometimes a little easier to show what the StokerVerse is and to talk about it at times.
That is just incredible. Well, gentlemen, we just want to thank you so much for being on the show and sharing all that's been going on in your world. We truly appreciate it, and thank you for being a part of Chit Chat. Wishing you the best, and happy Halloween. Thank you.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Thanks for
Bye.
the rat nightmares.
You're welcome.
Thank you.